Hey everyone, David Aragona and Craig Milkowski here, taking a look at some sprinters in action in South Florida on Saturday. It is the Grade 3 Smile Sprint going 6 furlongs on the main track at Gulfstream Park. Just a field of 6 signed on, but we've got some name recognition here with the number 3, Drain the Clock, who figures to be a heavy favorite in this spot.
He does. He's returning from overseas where he didn't fare very well, but I thought he ran okay. And I just want to mention I was a huge fan of Smile, so I'll always be a big fan of this race. He was a really fast sprinter back in the 80s. Don't think we got anything quite the quality of Smile, but Drain the Clock has run some big races in his day, as many will remember him beating Jackie's Warrior.
Yeah, Drain the Clock. The class of this field pegged at 6-5 on the morning line. We'll see how low he does go. It's definitely a horse with a lot of back class, but we do have some horses that are coming off some blowout wins recently, like the number 4, Absolute Grit. Craig, though, one of the most interesting things that I found when handicapping this race is just how much speed is signed on. Only 6 runners, but it feels like all 6 want to be forwardly placed, and you can kind of see that when we throw up the Timeform US pace projector.
Yeah, there is not a lot of passing that's going to be going on in the lane, I wouldn't think, in this race, no matter how it turns out. Of all the horses in here, the only one who's really shown an ability to pass horses consistently, I guess, would be Pudding. And it's not like he's some huge closer coming from behind. He usually lays pretty close up and has, in fact, won wire to wire in his career. So it's definitely going to be interesting for that first mile to see how the horses sort themselves out.
Yeah, it is probably good for Drain the Clock that he's drawn outside of those 2 rail runners. The number 1, yes, I'm in the number 2, Gatsby, because both of them are pretty quick on their best day, and they'd be the 2 most likely, it seems, to outrun Drain the Clock to the lead. But he's drawn outside of them, so maybe he can work out that stalking trip. A trip that's similar to the one that he got 2 back when he won his 4-year-old day, or when he was second, I should say, in his 4-year-old day in the Gulfstream Park Sprint. February. This was supposed to serve as his prep for that overseas trip to the Dubai Golden Shaheen. And he lost this day as the 3-5 favorite, Craig, run down. He ran a pretty good race. He ran his typical speed figure, just by a horse that ran a little better. Let's take a look at the last time that Drain the Clock had to race from a stalking position. This is 2 back when he was second in the Gulfstream Park Sprint. Supposed to be his prep for the overseas trip to Dubai, and one would have thought he was supposed to win this race as the 3-5 favorite. But Greg, I thought he ran his race, just got run down by a better horse on the day.
Yeah, Miles Ahead was just able to track him down. Looked like he was home free at 3-5. Not sure where that race came from Miles Ahead, because he certainly hadn't run back to it. But he finished ahead of the pretty good Diamond Dupes, who's not what he once was, but still a pretty solid campaigner. My concern is he just didn't run particularly fast that day. He got a 1:15 speed figure. He's a horse who was running some 1:20s in the better part of his 3-year-old season. So luckily for him, this isn't the same level of competition he was seeing at that point in his career, because this is the kind of speed figure he's been running fits here. It wouldn't have fit last year.
Yeah, he's kind of a funny horse. Aside from those battles with Jackie's Warrior last summer, he really hasn't run that fast in his surrounding races. So we'll see if he can take that step forward here, or if he really needs to, because a repeat of that Gulfstream Park Sprint effort might actually be good enough to beat this field, even though he lost that race. Not going to fault him for losing the Dubai Golden Shaheen. He was the pace setter that day, was hard ridden to make the front, and just got tired at the end of that race. Didn't really run that badly over in Dubai. So if he's ready to fire coming back off the layoff for Saffy Joseph, he figures to be pretty tough at a short price in this spot. His main rival, though, could be the number 6, Willie Boy, a horse that has really come into form this year for trainer Jorge Delgado. Came back off a layoff 2 back at Tampa, won impressively. And then let's take a look at his last race when he won the big drama at Gulfstream. This was a pretty impressive victory, Craig. You had a horse, King Cap, that kind of ran off on the front end. Willie Boy sat off that one and held him at the quarter pole and runs off to a pretty impressive victory.
Yeah, he's won his 2 starts this year by over a dozen lengths. His first 2 starts as a 4-year-old. He hasn't run particularly fast yet, just a 102 and then a 106 on the Timeform US speed figure scale. But I would suspect there's probably at least some more in the tank. How much is the big question?
Yeah, I'm taking the positive view of this horse, even though he's a little bit light on the speed figure. Some horses have come back to run pretty well out of that Tampa race where he was so dominant. And last time, he just never really gave anybody a chance the way that he ranged up on the far turn. Some horses that finished in behind him probably aren't in the best form right now. You have some back class runners in that race, but he just decimated that field and feels like he's one that's just in razor sharp form right now. And if Drain the Clock is vulnerable, it could be to a horse that's just doing as well as Willie Boy. And he is drawn well on that outside post position, so you don't have to worry about the trip for him because he's already proven that he can work out a stalking trip successfully. Another horse that does have the speed figure power to be competitive with Drain the Clock is the number 2 Gatsby. Let's take a look at his race going 3 back when he won the Sunshine Sprint back in January. Craig, if he shows up with this effort, I think Drain the Clock could be in trouble. It's just a little hard to trust this horse given his last couple of performances.
Yeah, to be a little bit punny, his last two haven't been great. For sure. He ran that 119 3 back in the race we were that we're taking a look at here. Looked like he was going to move into being one of the top sprinters around with a 119 speed figure. I mean, that was the kind of speed figure that was winning grade ones last year. And he's just kind of fallen off a cliff. Now, there was a trainer change. I haven't done my research to see if that was a suspension trainer change or what was going on there, but he's back with Carlos David. And yeah, any kind of return to form would make him a contender. I don't think we're really going to get 15-1 just based on that race that we're seeing, the Sunshine Million Sprint, but he's a horse on his best day could certainly take this.
Yeah, I don't know the full story on that trainer switch either, but it is a little problematic that even for the barn that he's in now, he ran poorly against Drain the Clock back in February, following up that breakout performance in the Sunshine Sprint with a poor effort, finishing almost a dozen lengths behind Drain the Clock that day. So not a trustworthy horse, but clearly with his best effort, he's one that could get in the mix if he has his mind on running on Saturday. Another horse that's coming out of a blowout victory, kind of like Willie Boy, is the number 4 Absolute Grit. This horse won a handicap back at the beginning of June. Let's take a look at that race. Did so over a sloppy track, and actually his last couple of races have come over sloppy sealed track. So definitely a horse that appreciates that kind of going. But he beat a rival this day that was the favorite, Pudding, who finished far behind in third. And maybe this horse is coming into good form right now.
Yeah, he could be. He is older than Willie Boy, who we talked about, who's just a 4-year-old. He's a 5-year-old. He's also a little late on the speed figure, so I'd be less likely to give him the benefit of the doubt, thinking that he's going to be able to jump up and beat horses like Drain the Clock or Gatsby if he shows up in his prior form. So I'm not as big a fan of him as I am Willie Boy.
Yeah, I kind of have the same take on him. He is a horse that's won 4 of his last 5 starts, so you like to see that, but he's primarily done so against weaker competition. You can kind of see that on the left-hand side of the screen with those Timeform US race ratings. 3 of them don't even break into the triple digits, and you're going to need to be proven against some tougher company if you're going to beat a horse like Drain the Clock. And furthermore, that was a handicap last time, and he was giving away, or I should say getting 7 pounds from the number 5 Pudding. And we'll take a look at Pudding's past performances. He was the one that had to carry the weight that day, toting 126 pounds as opposed to the 119 for Absolute Grit. Not sure that's the only reason that Pudding lost that day, because he just didn't look like himself in the slot, but he did run well when he got an aggressive ride 2 back, Craig. It's just hard to envision this horse being forwardly placed in this race.
No, I don't think Pudding's going to be forwardly placed. I think he's going to be the one horse to rate back off of them. Whether it's going to work or not, I don't know. But he's one I'm definitely going to be using in my vertical place, just as the horse most likely to pick up the pieces, if there are some to pick up.
Let's throw up our top picks for this race, and Craig kind of alluded to the fact that he does have Pudding in there for second. But Craig, you're not trying to beat Drain the Clock, and I can understand that viewpoint. From a class and even speed figure standpoint, he's just hard to get past in this race.
Yeah, and it's Saffy Joseph back in Florida. He obviously does extremely well at Gulfstream Park, and I suspect this horse is going to be ready to go. It's not a prep. This is a grade 3 race, and that's kind of what he is at this point in his career, grade 3 horse. I do like that he's drawn outside the other 2 main speeds, so I just think he's going to be tough to beat.
Yeah, I just always try to take a somewhat skeptical view of very short priced horses coming back off layoffs like Drain the Clock is. Haven't been thrilled with his last few races, though, like we said, they might be good enough to beat the field that it's assembled on Saturday. I'm just taking a shot with the number 6 Willie Boy, who does figure to be the second choice in the wagering. Just a horse that's in great form right now, and one that I think still does have some upside as a 4-year-old. We'll see if we can get somewhere in that 5 to 2 to 3 to 1 range on Willie Boy, because wouldn't want to take much lower than that against a horse like Drain the Clock that does look pretty formidable in the Smile Sprint on Saturday at Gulfstream Park. Good luck if you're playing the races this weekend.